As you know, the burden of rheumatoid arthritis is huge. There's a progressive disability, and less than 1% of the people with this disease have a spontaneous remission, so which is a fearful thing. So you always have to tell the patient, yes, you have rheumatoid arthritis, and it's going to be there with you all your life. Has a huge disability also coming with it, and huge millions of dollars and rupees are spent for treating these patients. We all know that rheumatoid is a systemic inflammatory disorder, which is chronic in nature, and the etiology is unknown. It doesn't involve only the joints, but also involves other things like the eyes, the skin, the lungs, and the blood vessels. It has a fluctuating clinical course, unpredictable prognosis. You can never tell which patient is going to get bad. And worst part, an associated CVD risk of 60%. So this disease is so complex and has multifactorial pathogenesis. So when your patient asks, why did I get it? The answer is, I don't know. So let's just go through the pathophysiology, how it works. There's basic activation of the macrophages by the antigen-presenting cells and the T cells, and that leads to release of the inflammatory cytokines from the macrophages. This is very important to understand because what follows is how this drug has got a targeted therapy. It releases the TNF-alpha and interleukin-1s, which present into the synovium and then causes the symptoms of synovitis. There is a production of collagenesis, which breaks down the cartilage, and also there is breakdown of bone. Similar pathology occurs in osteoarthritis. Though osteoarthritis is a mechanically driven and cellular mediated disease, there is a lot of inflammation that exists in osteoarthritis, just like rheumatoid, but not as severe. So the basic pathology is almost the same. So that's why this drug that we are going to talk about will act at that particular target. Now, what is that target? The TNF-alpha and interleukin-1 are the major inflammatory cytokines involved in the rheumatoid as well as in OA. Now, the release of these inflammatory cytokines is controlled by a transcriptase factor, which is called as NF-kappa beta, basically, which is like a switch. And it's present in all the cells, but without this switch, the cascade will not start. So the thought was, if you can block this NF-kappa beta, then you can stop the inflammation. So I said it's like a master switch. If you can control that by any drug or any other modality, you can stop the inflammation. So it can also be used not only in rheumatoid and osteoarthritis, but also other inflammatory disorders like ankylosing spondylitis, psoriatic arthritis, and juvenile RA. So this is a slide which just shows you how the activation of NF-kappa beta occurs. The moment there is an inflammatory stimuli, the first thing is the 1-kb kinase enzyme, which stimulates the inactive one, NF-kb, to an active one, and then allows it to go into the nucleus. Once it enters the nucleus, it will start manipulating the genes and start producing the inflammatory mediators, and then release the pro-inflammatory cytokines and also inducible enzymes. So this is the basic mechanism that acts in inflammation in RA as well as osteoarthritis. So if we can block this, then we can block the symptoms. And if you can block the symptoms, that is pain, then it's an excellent painkiller. So this is how the thinking goes about. So what are the current options? The current options, we use NSAIDs, but they have problems. Can be, you have to be very careful with elderly people. There's a lot of associated GI problems. You have to watch for cardiotoxicity. You have to look at renal toxicity. Plus steroids, excellent drugs, but again, can't be used for long term. Maybe used as a bridge therapy, but long term use can have a lot of other complications. Plus increased risk of infections. What about the disease modifying drugs? What are the options that we have? We have the DMARDs and the biologics. In the DMARDs, it's a good modality, but it takes a lot of time to act. So you need something in between before the DMARDs start acting. Over a period of time, the DMARDs can lose their efficacy. Then you have to look at biologicals. The biologicals have shown good response, but again, very expensive, have also got good, significant side effects, which does not allow you to use them for a long period of time. So the innovative option is nothing but this Indian solid gold. The solid magic Indian gold, which is also called as Curcuma longa, also called as haldi. It's known all over the world with different names, but the first plantations were in India and Indonesia. So we all know that this was and haldi we use in for pain. We have used it for application on wounds. So it's a good, stops the bleeding also. But we did not know that how it was acting, what was the active component. The active component of haldi is curcumin, and this is the drug that Cadila is looking at. And it has got powerful anti-inflammatory effects and is a good antioxidant. But the problem is that if you start consuming turmeric in your daily food, it will not give you the amount that is required, because it is just 3% of the entire haldi. So you require a significant, so there has to be a process to extract it. So that is the technology, and how you can actually put it into a capsule and deliver it so that it is bioavailable for the body at the right dosage. It is basically called as diferryl methane, the curcumin, that is the curcuminoid in the turmeric. It has got anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-proliferative, anti-angiogenic effect. So it is also useful in conditions like malignancy. And it can affect about 700 genes. So its potential to help us is immense. But what we are looking at as an orthopedic surgeon is the effect of curcumin on NF-κB as an NF-κB inhibitor. Because if it can stop that one process, we can stop inflammation. So where does it act? It has got multiple site of action. One, that it blocks the 1-kB kinase enzyme. And if you can block that one enzyme, then this next step, that is, it prevents the activation of NF-κB beta. It does not allow it to go into the nucleus, and it does not allow the release of the cytokines. So it's a cascade of events that it stops. So what is the evidence? The moment we present in the scientific meeting that we say that we claim something like a hypothesis, you need evidence. There have been studies done in RA for rheumatoid arthritis, a comparative study of curcumin diclofenac, and they found that the CRP levels, which is an acute phase reactant, has dropped down by 52% using curcumin, which is a very, very significant improvement. And so it is effective and safe in patients with RA, because it also has minimum side effects. In an RA patient, when you write down the prescription, you always wonder what is that anti-inflammatory I can give for the next 10 years without it being affecting the patient. So I think the answer lies in this probably drug. We don't know yet. A pilot study of curcumin, 18 patients with RA were treated with curcumin for 2 weeks, and it improved the joint swelling, the muscle, the early morning stiffness, and the walking time. And most important, it was well tolerated. Another study done for OA, 820 patients for 6 months, it significantly improved the patient's symptoms. 50% of the patients were able to discontinue other NSAIDs, which I think is a very, very significant improvement. Another study with ibuprofen, almost similar effects, but lower GI side effects. So you have a drug like ibuprofen, but with a better safety profile. Can be used as a monotherapy. It also works very well. It can be used along with NSAIDs, along with steroids, along with DMARDs, and it helps to reduce the usage of those drugs. So curcumin combined with diclofenac also helped. So it's not that you can use it as a monotherapy. You can combine it with the diclofenac so that you reduce this time that duration of the drug, like a diclofenac, which is a very dangerous drug for use for a long term. So in a combination therapy, it enhances action of celecoxib, that is COX-2 inhibitors, and decreases the need of that. Can be given with prednisolone. It acts as an additive anti-inflammatory action and helps you to reduce the duration of the bridge therapy. It has a synergistic anti-arthritic action and may help to reduce the dose of MTX over a period of time. Safety-wise, it's been generally recognized as a very safe drug by US FDA. No noticeable adverse events were observed with doses up to 8 grams, which is not the drug dosage, but at that high dosage also it was found safe. Has no side effects on kidney, liver, and the heart, except for some mild transient nausea and diarrhea, which can occur with any other drug. Now, in order to make it effective and to make it more bioavailable, there is a technology, which is called as the SMEDS technology, where the self-microemulsifying drug delivery system has been developed so that the drug is easily absorbed and creates the concentration that is required for its anti-inflammatory action. These nano-sized hydrophilic droplets of curcumin help to improve the absorption and better tissue penetration. This is one of the studies done at 400 milligrams achieves a very good plasma concentration. So in summary, basically the curcumin acts like a switch, it blocks the NF-κB beta. That is exactly what you need to remember, that it blocks NF-κB beta, acts like an inhibitor of that, and as a result of which, it prevents release of the cytokines, can be used as a monotherapy in RA and OA. It can be used in combination with NSAIDs so that you reduce the GI tolerability of both the NSAIDs. It can act like a synergistic action, so again, it can improve the effectivity. Along with the methotrexate, it can help to reduce the hepatotoxicity, because methotrexate over a long period of time so you have to do every 6 weeks, you have to check your LFTs when you're using methotrexate. So if you can combine with the curcumin, probably the dosage can be less. And unlike biologics, it's very safe and well tolerated. So it has a very important role in management of RA and OA, minus the side effects. So I think the advantage of this drug is that it is effective, as well as we don't have to worry about the normal side effects that we see with NSAIDs. It has got some antioxidant action, and before I finish, there are a few things that I would just like to tell you, that the additional benefits which I picked up from literature was that it is also now being used in to fight Alzheimer's disease. And how it works is basically the brain-derived neurotropic factor is one thing that curcumin helps to increase the levels of BDNF. And that way it may help to improve your memory, may help you to reduce the symptoms of Alzheimer's. This is something that is a hypothesis that is being seen into. Also, as Dr. Kalmat has mentioned about how it works at the endothelial level. Also, because of its anti-angiogenic action, it has also a role to play in management of cancer. So let's make life pain-free by using the spice of life. Thank you very much.